We are going to use these functions that we have learned. And here we have a small size example here. It says we want to simulate a sequence of 100 coin tosses. So imagine we are going to perform 100 coin tosses, but it is just going to take so much time if you do it by hands, and every time you flip it, you are going to take it from the ground again and again. So we are just going to skip that hard part, and we are going to use Microsoft Excel to simulate this sequence of events, the sequence of 100 coin tosses. We are assuming that the coin is a fair coin, meaning that the chance of getting head is the same as the chance of getting tail. Each has probability 0.5 of occurring. Now we are going to run the simulation multiple times and compare the results with our expectations. So what we expect is, if you are going to flip 100 coins, what we expect is half of them to be heads, almost approximately, and half of them to be tails. Of course, there are going to be some deviations, but the number of tails or the number of heads should not be too far from each other, right? So 50-50 chances. This example is a Monte Carlo simulation example. In this simulation, there will be no events or no clock, so it is not going to take any time. We are not basically observing this system dynamically. So every coin flip is a single instantaneous event and assumed as a replication of this simulation. This simulation model is static and stochastic because we are just interested in what we see when the coin falls to the ground. Okay, we are just interested in that moment, what we observe in that moment. Now let's see, we have an Excel file here, which you can see. So I'm just going to write toss here, and I will write the indices of my coin flips, and I am just going to create 100 lines here, not too much. Okay. Here we go. So we have 100 lines here, and I am going to generate the outcome as heads or tails. And in order to do that, I'm going to use the random number logic. So I say random number in the second column, and I write here equal to rand, and that command is going to generate me a random number between 0 and 1, and with sufficiently enough digits after the decimal point, okay? And every time you click somewhere, double click somewhere, the number is going to change. Now, if I just pull this from this corner and take it to the down, and if I replicate this random number generation process 100 times, I'm going to get 100 random numbers. What I am going to do is this. I am going to determine the toss outcome. Okay, toss outcome here, and it is just going to be heads or tails, and I would like to have these numbers specifically be observed by formatting the cells. I just want to see exactly 8 decimal digits after the decimal points. Okay, now I'm going to write an if and else statement here. If this value is less than or equal to 0.5, then I want to see a head here, and let's put them in this signs. Otherwise, I want to see a tail. So you see, because these numbers are distributed uniformly between 0 and 1, statistically, their properties is what? Half of them are going to be below 0.5, and the other half of them is going to be greater than 0.5 in expectation, okay? But I mean, if you are just going to generate 100 of them, we do not exactly expect 50-50 here. As we have said, these are random numbers, okay? And okay, we have a error here. Maybe, okay, we have if B2 being less than or equal to 0.5. So should I write it like no? So what is the warning? When the first character is an equal or minus sign, Excel thinks it's a formula. So yeah, actually it's a formula. So maybe, okay, maybe I should remove these signs, okay? Okay, I get the problem now. So there should be a semicolon here, not a comma sign, and I should put them back. Okay, so you see, if I double click on this, I will see every outcome for my experiment, which I performed for 100 times. And you see, because my first random number here is less than 0.5, I assume that I get a head. Then again, second random number is less than 0.5, I get a head. So you see, I am getting heads for 8 times, then I start to get tails, so on and so forth, okay? Now, you may think that, I mean, how come if you take a coin flip 8 times, you get a head? I mean, that is random, that happens, okay? Now, let's count the number of heads and tails. And in order to do that, I'm just going to convert these heads and tails into binary values. So I say if this value is equal to a head, then the result is going to be 1. Otherwise, it is going to be 0. So for every head, I write a 1 in the binary column. Otherwise, I write a 0. And now the final thing is to write the summation of all values in the cells from, as you can see, D2 to D101. I calculate the summation, and you see in this random number sequence, I have generated the outcomes of the coin flips, and 45 of them are head and 55 of them are obviously tail. Now, if you double click on the cell top here, so every time you are going to get different random numbers. And you see the values here in this cell. Let me expand a little. The values in this cell is always very close to 50. Obviously, there are some deviations in each replication of this 100 coin toss experiment, but still we are getting approximate value that is close to 50. And so you see these random numbers are actually seem to be random. And another thing, how many seconds would you spend to flip and record 100 coin tosses? And here, I'm just doing it in seconds, okay? And milliseconds maybe, okay? So you see, because of that reason, simulation is a very, very nice tool. And actually, in many games that you play, either through mobile applications or through gaming consoles, this random number generation is used very frequently. For example, when you play League of Legends and hit anything, the hit points that's going to remove from your rival is a random value. That random value is generated by the random number generation algorithms. And once you learn about this, then the magic will be gone. Okay, unfortunately. So if you are a good game player, you will realize that everything behind the things that are happening are based on this random number generation algorithm.